If you like the content that we bring to each week and want to help us spread the word, we're asking that you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our audio content on your favorite podcast platform. Like each episode, leave comments and reviews, and share with your friends and family.
Yeah, so when you subscribe, like, and share, it triggers the behind the scenes algorithms that gives our content visibility to reach more people. So this is a great way you can help us to build our audience and share the good info we bring to you each week.
That's right. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Ready?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Welcome back to Covenant Therapy Marriage Ministry. That sounded like a radio talk show host, didn't it?
It did. I forgot to take my headphones off.
Womp womp. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We're so thrilled to have you watching our podcast again or listening to our podcast via Spotify or Apple iTunes, however you're getting your podcast, your audio. So tonight we're going to change things up just a little bit. And we have some sort of relatively
random topics.
Topics that we're going to, we have cards made up, sort of like our topics in a jar that we advocate all the time to get communication started. So we're going to do something sort of similar to that, and we're just going to talk about it. And we hope that you like the topics, and we hope that you, yes, I don't hope, we hope that you enjoy the conversation today.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes. Okay. No, we're not doing that again.
No, but I was gonna.
No.
I was gonna go there.
No.
Okay, I don't know why SpongeBob just sort of sticks in my. I'm gonna tell you, I have not watched SpongeBob in like probably 10 or more years, but that
some
opening
things just stick with you.
Just sort of sticks.
When it just comes to your head, it just
and almost came out of my mouth. But we say all the time that just because it comes to your head
doesn't have to come out of your mouth.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so you want me to go first?
Please.
Okay. So here we go. Talking point / topic number 1. You're more than just a parent.
Should be.
You want me to explain that a little bit deeper real quick before you start sharing?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we mean by that, a lot of times in relationships, in marriages, when you start having children, moms tend to do it probably a little bit more than dads. But what happens is all of the focus and all of the attention goes to the children. And sometimes you sort of forget that you're like a wife.
Mm-hmm. Or
and
husband.
an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Or an individual, man or woman. So before you became parents, you were somebody. And then when you got married, you were somebody additional.
Right.
So just because you become a parent, the other two people don't go away.
Right.
So that's what we mean by you're more than just a parent. So
yeah.
Well, what do you say?
I think
Mr. Galloway?
Some of that stuff, happens because of and we've kind of touched on it before in a different area. Mm-hmm. But, sometimes parents try to live through their children's lives vicariously. Yes. You try to make up for the things that you didn't get to do as a child. True. And so the child becomes more of the focus, and so everything becomes, whatever little daughter or little son wants to do. It could either be, through sports, a lot of things are through sports or scholastic activities, and you just get lost in the child's life. Or even not even say children. Let's look at career. Mm-hmm. You can get lost in your career life and totally forget, about being a spouse. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about being a parent.
Correct.
So when you,
but similar concepts.
You can get totally just lost in, being a parent. So much of a parent that your spouse ends up getting, having to take the back seat. In the relationship, they feel neglected, they feel left out, the communication is on halt, because if it's the majority of the conversation is always about what the child needs,
even
what the
when you
child
go out
does.
For a date night, it's all about the kids.
You can't even talk to your spouse about each other, because it's always about the child. And yes, you're a parent, you're a great parent, but you are still a spouse. Mm-hmm. Husbands, you can't get caught up in the sports and the wrestling and or golf or basketball or football. And yes, that takes up a lot of time.
It does. That's
you're
true.
at practices and practice after practice. You're at, the different team meetings, and you're, a team dad, and you're, just caught up into all of that, and the only time you want to communicate with your wife is when it's time to have sex, then that's a whole nother issue. But you may be parent of the year,
That's
but
right.
you may get a F, in spousing.
That's right. If your spouse graded you.
Yeah, we put a poll on our Facebook page once, asking, saying if your spouse had a credit report number, what would it be, for them being
For their
a
spousing.
good spouse, spousing, and we only had a few, people that participate. I think I might repost it.
Let's do it.
Repost it, see if we can get some more interaction with that. But yeah, you got to remember though, your children are your children, but your children are not your life.
Mm-hmm.
You have a spouse that you created and agreed to this covenant with when you got married, when you said for better, for worse, through sickness and in health, through ups and the downs, through the good and the bad.
That's right.
I'm making this promise to you, not to the kids. We said before, kids have their place, but
right.
kids don't take the place of the spouse.
And the other side of that is, quite honestly, when you make your children your world, guess what? They grow up and get their own worlds, and you're not the center of theirs.
Right.
So it's good to create a great environment for your children. It's
Absolutely.
important to be present parents. Like, all of that is absolutely good.
Yeah,
but you need to remember
good
that
example of parenting. But even in being a good example of parenting, you want to be a good example of how to be a spouse.
Yeah, that's true, because they learn how to be married from you. But what I was going to say before I was so rudely interrupted.
That was rude. I thought it was a timely interruption.
Was it? Because let's see if I can bring that thought back together.
Okay.
Let's move on, because now I don't know what it is.
All right.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, my bad. So I'm sure to be thought-provoking and revelatory.
I'm sure.
To the listeners
sure.
this day.
And when I get it back, I'm interrupting you so that I can say mine.
It'll be a timely interruption, I'm sure.
Or not. We'll see.
But it's, just remember, so I'll just carry on with the example. Your children, you are their example. And they need to see, as much as parenting, if you're living together in the same house, husband and wife, they need to see that interaction. How else are they going to learn to have good functional relationships when they grow up, or get to that age when they want to start having relationships? Are they only going to see it being one-sided, and the other person is not going to have as much, get as much attention, because, okay, we can be together, but my attention is going to go somewhere else. That's what they see. That's what they're going to mimic, because to them, all the attention went to them. So they're going to potentially grow up thinking, we're together, but I don't have to pay that much attention to you because, my mom didn't do it or my dad didn't do it. When they grow up and have children, the potential could be is that they give all of that attention to the children that they have, and the relationship that you've tried to build up until that point, it gets just skipped, because they're going to carry on with what they saw and what they learned.
Yeah. It's important that they see you being affectionate with one another, enjoying each other's company. All those traits that you would want them to carry on into their marriage, you should be showing them how to do that.
Yeah.
So you should have the marriage that you would want maybe your children to have one day. A lot of time one person or one partner in the relationship is, very aggressive, very, we have known people who have been, verbally abusive, physically abusive, emotionally manipulative, and children are watching all that you do. If you don't want them to mimic it, you need to put a stop to it whether it's you or it's your spouse, or the fact, this is a good example. And it can be, it used to be probably where it was mostly wives experience this, but now I'd say it's anybody in the relationship can experience this. But, where that one person takes all the abuse, takes all of the anger and the frustration, they carry it on their back because that's what they know to do. that's not good. That's not good for your children to see, because it teaches them to stay in a position that they shouldn't be in. So that's something that probably needs a lot more counseling and
Right.
coaching and discussions on. But just in general, just be mindful of what you're showing your children, because it does matter. It matters. It shapes who they're going to become
Exactly.
one day.
Yeah.
But so back again, I guess. So you're more than just a parent.
More than just a parent.
So that's important to show your children as a parent. But the way that you show them the right way to be is by prioritizing your spouse over your children. And I'm not talking about you leave your children hungry because your spouse, you have to go do stuff for you. Obviously, your children need you to take care of them.
Right.
But the goal here is not to misprioritize or not to over prioritize your children. Right. You have to still date your spouse. You still have to, be intimate with your spouse. You can't be so tired from being with the kids all day that you have no interest in your spouse. Mm-hmm. Because that is just as important as cooking and cleaning and running the kids to school and to sports and doing homework with the kids, and all of those things are important.
Yeah.
But all of those things are important. So you can't neglect one area just to, for the sake of the other areas.
It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know what I mean? Like, everything I'm going to do over here, but I'm stealing the energy that I should be giving to my spouse, to do this over here to make kids happy, and so, your spouse, and that's out of order. Mm-hmm. God's design is, the same way as, husband, wife, and then children. Mm-hmm. And children are supposed to be taught to obey their parents, not parents obey the children.
Ooh. And that is something sort of common that we're seeing trending today, I would say. Right. I don't have any stats on that, but I mean, you could just see it every time you're around newer parents, younger parents, and you're in the store, and you see, parents bargaining with their children. What?
Bargain? What?
I'm not bargaining with a 2-year-old. I'm not bargaining with a 5-year-old, and I'm not going to bargain with a teenager. I can assure you. When you're grown, you'll have your chance.
Right.
But there's only 2 grown people in my house. That's me and my husband.
Yep. So, and once again, you have to show them that the order and function of how the house is supposed to be run. But that, that involves 2 parents working together can definitely make it work a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And so
team up together.
don't get caught up in that other foolishness. But we can talk about all of that stuff at a later date.
That's right, because we got more topics.
We got more topics. So just remember, you are more than just a
so
parent.
Much more.
You are a loving, caring, supporting spouse, there to make each other's, help each other and be each other's support system and meet each other's needs.
That's right.
Next.
You ready? Do you want to read it?
I'm going to pick from the bottom.
Pick from the bottom. Okay, here we go. Can you see that?
Letting go of yourself.
Letting yourself go.
Or letting yourself go. So what we mean by that, we kind of touched on this a little bit too, is getting kind of settled in and comfortable, with who you are, and, and I got the woman or I got the man, and so now, all the effort that went into trying to impress them, and, all of the effort of trying to look nice and, and smell good, and whatever effort you put into it prior to getting married, don't stop just because you finally got the prize.
That's
you got
right.
the one that you wanted, and so, different things happen. We get a little older, you know what I'm saying? Busy with family, busy with all these other things. So everything may not stay in tip-top shape. You're not going to be, having that young body forever, or, that drive to do certain things forever. But don't take it for granted, just because you got somebody and you're convinced that, she ain't never going to leave me, or he's never going to leave me, or she, you know what I'm saying? Look, there's way too much going on, out there for you to for either one of you to just, not care about your appearance, and your upkeep. Should that be the main focus? No, it shouldn't be. you know, but as people that plan on staying married for a very long time, that doesn't mean that we should stop taking care of ourselves to the best of our ability just because.
Yeah, I feel like a common thing in church, people say stuff like, it's okay to put a little paint on the barn.
What? Oh,
Because the barn sort of
yeah.
it doesn't look like it's not all fresh and new, so it's okay, like, as an example, for women to throw on a little makeup or, throw on some nice clothes, like, because you still want to date each other. You still want to attract the other person. That doesn't mean, just like what you said previously, it doesn't mean you have to be like, a hottie McBody and your stuff is all tight and perfect. If you can maintain that, or if you want to work towards that goal, that's fabulous. I mean, because this is what I tell my kids all the time. You get one body. You get one body.
You do.
You better take care of it because it's the only one you get. And if you want to make it like into retirement and old age, and you don't want to be a hot mess that's all broke down in old age, you got to take care of it while you have it when it's young and it's fresh. Don't abuse it when it's young and it's fresh, so that it'll sort of respond better when it's not so young and fresh.
Right. And we're not saying everybody's got to be, the idea of slim and trim and fit.
Right. That's
it's just whatever, kind of person that you were when you were single to attract the spouse that you have. Maintain that.
Yeah.
Or try to maintain it. Or even talk about it, and maybe both of you can do better.
That's right. Maybe you can do it together.
Do it together. All right, I'm about to say something.
I'm scared.
If you can put them filters on your selfie, and you know how them filters make you look better, people do that, and their skin be all super smooth, their face be all slimmed out.
Sparkles all around them.
Oh yeah, if you want to
look like you got great makeup on
to show everybody else the fantasy of what you look like, what are you doing for your spouse? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, you want everybody else to see you this way when that's really not the way that you look,
right?
And
your spouse sees your face,
sees you on and
without the filter all the time.
Right. So why don't you do something then? Or don't.
Or don't filter it up.
Don't filter it up. Be who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and another thing too is, and it's something that I have been progressively learning more and more, is just learning to be confident, because confidence, it doesn't mean you look good. It doesn't mean your body is the bomb, because I can assure you mine is not. But learning to be confident with what you have, whatever that looks like, that is like 10 times more attractive than than not. First of all,
that fake.
Then even if you're the most beautiful thing, but you have no confidence.
Yeah.
Even if you're the slimmest, trimmest, fittest, best hair, best makeup, but you have no confidence, it still comes across relatively unattractive. So just learn to be confident in who you are, because you're beautiful just the way you are. If you want to improve on that, by all means, feel free to do so. But
go for it.
But learn to love who you are right now in this moment. Likely that will lead to some of those positive changes that you're, wanting to make anyway.
Right.
So, but I think the idea here is not that you're not beautiful the way you are. The idea is you did all that effort in the beginning.
You took care of yourself.
Drop on the effort level, because you got comfortable in your relationship, because nobody wants that.
Right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the truth. Like,
if you dressed up, and then all of a sudden decided that you're going to stop dressing up, go back to taking care of yourself, confidence, okay? Mm-hmm. Or, make sure that there's still that, you want to keep that level of attraction. Like I said, the physical thing is not the only thing. We're really supposed to be looking at, the characteristics of people, the soul of somebody that is beautiful on the inside, but there are things that drew you to that person also on the outside. So don't let that stuff slide, to the best of your ability. Make sure you keep that up. You want your spouse to be attracted to you.
Yes, you do.
So keep it up.
I got my sexy eyes.
Keep it up, sexy eyes.
This is my Mr. Potato Head pocket, and I'm putting on my sexy eyes.
So you had to put those on. That lets me know that I was not sexy until you put your sexy eyes on.
No,
so
that means now I'm looking at you with sexy eyes. The dad bod
is not working, so I need to go and do a little bit more sit-ups and things of that nature.
Stop it.
Look, I ain't ashamed. Shoot,
you went there. I didn't go there.
It's all greasy. Don't let yourself go.
And remember, that's inside and outside.
Inside and
We're
outside.
not, please love who you are right now,
Right.
but grow into who you really want to be.
Absolutely.
Following God's plan for your life. We're not talking about being some worldly, like, I'm not even going to name no names.
Don't do
I'm not
that.
doing that. But
You mean the person that everybody's trying to look alike? Let it go. Let it go.
every single person, all the makeup, all of that, and everybody looks just the same. Like we didn't came out the mannequin shop.
Right.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Nah.
Beautify your inside, beautify your outside.
Yeah.
It's glorious. God, you were made to be glorious, so be that.
Right. And truthfully, what's on the inside is going to come on the outside. So it's more important to take care of the inside. What we're saying, once again, is that, just take care of the outer shell, too.
As well as the inner shell.
That's
Yes. Yeah. Put a little paint. Put a little paint on the barn. It's okay. That's right. Put a little paint on the barn.
Paint on the barn. Okay.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Oh, my.
This is our third
And
and
final
final
for this.
topic for this episode. So again, I hope you're having fun. I hope you're liking what we're talking about. Ready?
Right.
Womp, 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 womp. Complaining constantly. Oh, nobody likes that. Can I just start this one off? Complaining constantly. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be around somebody who's always negative. I know a lot of times, whichever parent chooses to stay home, traditionally it's more the woman staying home. When the husband comes in the door, he's had a hard day at work. She's had a hard day at home. But instantly she just wants to complain about how her day was at home.
She want to unload.
Or he wants to do the same, come home and unload and complain about. No. Each of you are looking for the other person to be a place of peace. You need to be the place of peace.
Yeah.
Don't be a complainer. It's negative. It's not good. Nobody likes it. Stop doing it. It's
and
ugly.
Also, stop pointing out each other's faults, and complaining about the things that you just complain about stuff, You ain't do this. You ain't do that. How come you don't do this? Why don't you act like this? Why don't you act like that? Just that. Nobody trying to hear all that.
It sort of falls into criticism. Just being real, critical.
Critical.
Of, the other person or other people. I mean, again, so I can say this because I used to be like this. We would go places, and as soon as we get in the car, and did you see that person? Did you see that person? Oh my gosh, I can't believe that person was doing that. Poor Teray. It's just like, my ears, they're bleeding. It's not cool.
No.
I can say that because I was that person. It is not cool. Stop doing it.
Yeah, it's not. And then really, what does that make you look like? Always having something negative to say about somebody else or pulling out. And I'm going to say this about her at the time that she was doing that. That was still, I believe, at a place of your insecurities too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so talking
sure.
about other people's whatevers kind of made you feel better about yourself and the things that you were doing.
That's a root of complaining. One root, anyway.
Right. My issue was complaining was because I had higher expectations or what I was expecting things to be done. And when you weren't doing those things, I complained, and we talked about all of that in the communication stuff. So that's nothing new. Go back and listen to that, and it's just nobody, you beat people down, in your relationship, in your marriage, when all you do is complain about stuff. It's okay to have discussions, about things that we have as differences.
Yeah.
But if you are a complainer, a constant complainer, your spouse is not happy. Because all they hear is negative, and you can't say anything good about them. That's not going to help them to feel good about themselves. They're not going to feel secure in the relationship, and then there's no telling what is going to transpire in the long run if certain things aren't taken care of.
Right.
So you do want to make sure that you're not just running your mouth all the time about being negative and this ain't right and how come you ain't this and that and all of that other stuff. That's not a happy situation.
Yeah, and I've got two thoughts on that.
Go for
it. One, the power of life and death is in the tongue.
That's what it says.
And what you speak, it goes forward and it takes action and it takes root. So the life you live today is the life you spoke yesterday. So just remember, the more you complain, the more you're going to keep living that life. the more you complain, the more that you put that characteristic on that person, the more you're going to keep experiencing that, because you're continuing to plant seeds and water them with your complaining. And so that's number one. And then number two is, I remember I attended a Joyce Myers, it was a women's conference. Oh my gosh, this is so many years ago now. But I remember what was one of the things that was very impactful is that she had a list. She told us to make a list, and this is what she had done because she had that same problem. And that she made a list of all of her husband's bad qualities. She made a whole list, all of them. And then she made a list of all the good qualities. And she ripped up the list of the bad qualities, and she only focused on the good. And so I remember doing that. And I still, when the enemy, I feel like it's the enemy, or it's, my flesh, whatever.
I had bad qualities.
Never. But when this fictitious person had these bad qualities, what I have to do, because it's not true, and that's the problem. Like, yeah, there may be a thing I don't like, but that's a thing. It's not a series of things. But the enemy wants you to think it's bigger and it's worse than it is, or your flesh is just, for whatever reason, acting up that day, and your flesh is like, there he goes doing that thing again. I'm so glad that my spirit has grown and is much stronger, because my spirit will come back and say, yes, but he also does this, 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 and this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right, spirit. Yeah. Way to go, spirit. Way to win that. See, that's why I like you, spirit.
Yeah. And like you were saying, too, the more that you continue to focus on that, the more you're going to see it. And that does make the issue seem like it's bigger than it actually is.
That's a very good point.
Because you just continue to point it out in the, and we talked about that too, when somebody's trying to make changes, you made changes, I made changes. You have a hard time seeing it because you've honed in so much on the negative stuff that when the positive things come around, you still have a hard time really recognizing it, because you're still looking for something to complain about. And that's, like I said, that's not good for marriage. It's not good for your relationship. It's not a happy situation at all.
It's not. So I don't know how much more we have to talk about, but this reminded me of something I just read. So we're in the middle of our 21-day fast at the time. Well, actually, at the time of this recording, we have just, today was the last day of the fast. But during the fast, I was reading a book. It was by Bill Winston called Ruling and Reigning. And in that book, he said, practice the language of silence. So when you pray for something, then you be silent, because you don't want your words to counteract the thing that you prayed for. Yeah. So as an example, if I'm praying for, just say, a change in my husband, but then in the next breath, I'm talking about how terrible that situation is, and I just sort of counteracted my prayer. So in his book, he says, practice the language of silence. I felt that. So now I feel like, you know what? I am not. Because sometimes we just observe things and we say, oh, did you see this? Like, it's not the critical judgy thing like it was. It's sort of just an observation. I will be practicing the language of silence. I will not be observing verbally anything that is not positive.
That's a professional way to say, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Yeah.
Just shut it up.
That's right.
But
I love that.
Yeah, but that's truth. That's not experiencing. That's putting the word of God first.
That's right.
Because if you don't really, if you're praying for something, then you don't want to push a negative word, after the prayer that you're praying. You want to stay on the positive. If you're believing God for something, then why are you going to go back and? But people don't understand that, though. They feel like, well, I'm just sharing my heart. That could be a touchy situation.
Yeah, or that God knows my heart.
No,
he does.
Don't.
That's for real. He does. And just because he knows it doesn't mean he's pleased with it. Just throwing that out there.
No, that's right. Talk about that. That's a whole nother
talk
show.
That's a whole nother.
It's a whole nother episode. So we'll finish this up. But we had those 3 topics. Hope that you all had, got something out of it. It's just something fun for us, but we did want to bring these topics up because other people have asked us about them. We have talked about them before, so we just thought it'd be good to bring some stuff out and have some quick conversations about that. So until next time, we'll see you again. Thank you for tuning in to Covenant Therapy Marriage Ministry. I'm Teray.
And I'm Janine.
And we love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, yes.